Hey everyone, fascinating chat today, diving into the world of smarter CX built on AI with Five9, a true innovator and leader in the field. Callan, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing well. You guys have a busy summer, so much going on around the Five9 Genius AI launch. Really exciting stuff here. Maybe before that, introduce yourself, your team within Five9, and a little bit about the announcement of Genius AI.
Sure. So I'm Callan Schebella. I run the product management org here within Five9. I've been here for a bit over 3 years. So we look after all of the product portfolios, including the AI, digital, and automation. And then last week we had a very big launch. We launched Five9 Genius AI, and I think today we're going to be talking about what that is.
Indeed. So let's talk about it. There's a methodology behind it, kind of a step-by-step process that you recently announced with the launch. You can see it here. Tell us about that methodology.
Yeah, so Five9 has been working for quite some time on essentially an end-to-end process that allows our customers to benefit and get a true return on investment on their AI investments. A lot of the challenge we see in the industry right now is people obviously want to implement AI, but they're not exactly sure how to start. And they're really looking for sort of a data-driven approach to kind of let them make informed decisions. So what Five9 Genius AI is essentially, as it says there on the screen, a 4-step strategic process for delivering business value. It sort of revolves around the Five9 data lake. And so step one is essentially to listen, to essentially capture the information that's being generated on the Five9 CX platform, store that into the data lake so that we can then make informed decisions through step two, which is analysis. And in analysis, we look at essentially all of the content of these conversations using very new techniques. So using large language models, for example, to reduce every interaction down to the reason or reasons for that interaction. And then actually calculating what we call an impact score that shows you for any given topic that's happening inside of your contact center environment, how much of an impact is having on the overall workload of that group. Now, once you know that, you can then start to make some more informed decisions and start overlaying your own data on top of the large language models themselves. And that moves us into step three, which is Tailor. And in Tailor, that's really where a lot of our announcements that came out last week were focused on. So we introduced all generally available Gen AI Studio and also announced a preview for Five9 AI Knowledge. Both of those are part of the Tailor step. And the idea with Tailor is you've got an existing large language model, but you need to overlay that with your own data, your own contextual data. And that could consist of sort of the interaction data that's happening right now. It could consist of external data, like maybe you need to go to a CRM system in real time. But it also consists of knowledge and essentially the knowledge that's within the minds of your contact center agents. And how do you actually bring that into the contact center so that all agents can benefit regardless of their skill level? And that's what Five9 AI Knowledge is about as well. So if you're familiar with concepts like RAG and prompt generation for large language models, all of that is encapsulated within the Tailor phase from Five9. And then finally, once you've assessed what you need to do, once you've tailored your model, you need to actually be able to apply that into the real world to get an outcome inside the CX platform. And that is step 4, apply. And the nice thing about Five9 is that after many, many years of investment in this area, it doesn't really matter how you want to apply the result of your generative AI inference. You can do so. You can do it within a chatbot. You can do it within an IVA. You could do it within Agent Assist. You could do it within post-call summarizations, or you could do it within the AI Insights product and getting better insight into the overall performance of your contact center. So the announcement last week is essentially the culmination of all of that work coming together after many years of investment.
Wow, very impressive process and solution. And talk about the ways Genius AI, the different aspects of enhancing customer experience today versus traditional sort of legacy approaches.
Yeah, so I mean, if you think about the industry, we've probably had sort of 3 eras of automation technology. If you go back to sort of the early days, we were hand building speech recognition grammars. We can sort of think about that as sort of generation one technology. You sort of had to anticipate and predict every type of interaction that you might want to automate. Then about the 2012 period, we started to see conversational NLP, natural language processing, come out. So you saw people like Google Dialogflow, Amazon Lex, and those sorts of players providing the first sort of commercial engines that allowed you to do NLU. And of course, we offer that generation 2 technology within Five9 as well. And then in the last 24 months, you've seen the rise of generative AI. And the big difference between sort of generation 2 and generation 3 is really the amount of effort it takes in terms of the implementation to get some sort of a result. Just to give you a sense of it, something that was like a speech analytics product that you might implement, with like months of tuning and training on phrases and so forth. You can now do that type of an implementation using something like Gen AI Studio, which is powered by LLM, in a tiny fraction of the time. We're talking, going from months to minutes in many cases. So it's really changing how quickly people can get a result from this type of automation technology.
Fascinating insight there. And maybe talk about the landscape today. A lot of different new entrants chasing the voice AI marketplace. And, how do you see your unique positioning there at Five9? What differentiates you from, this very crowded field?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of marketing. There's a lot of startups. There's a lot of big announcements being made every other week from the big cloud players as well. One of the things that we see as our role for our customers and our prospect is to act as that trusted advisor to help them navigate that landscape. One of the challenges that a lot of the newer entrants have is that they essentially are a point solution. What our focus has been in Five9 is to essentially bring together an entire CX platform that allows you to implement any type of applied use of the AI that you can think of, but be able to do that in a way that's sort of repeatable and reusable across the entire platform. I would just give you a sense of that is once you've mined your data and you've tailored a model, you may want to use that model in a large number of different ways within a CX platform. So, for example, an inference generated by Five9 Gen AI Studio could be used within an IVA interaction. It could be used within a chatbot interaction. It could be used within a summarization, post-call summarization activity, or maybe an agent assist guidance card activity, or whatever comes next. And so one of the nice things about being a complete platform is you benefit from that reuse, and essentially you provide a one-stop shop for all of for your customers. And that's quite different from someone that's just targeting a very particular, point solution out there in the market. The other thing that we kind of, pride ourselves on is that guided approach and that data-driven approach to making decisions. There's a lot of players in the market right now that are asking for your hard-earned dollars and almost like saying, trust me and you'll get an outcome. We'd rather prove that you can get an outcome by actually loading the system up with your actual data, mining that data, getting some insights from that, and then making an informed decision on the basis of that.
Wow, fascinating approach. And you guys have a large global and blue chip customer base. How does the integration of AI with their existing Five9 platform, how does that affect their operational efficiencies today?
Yeah. So the way we sort of have some sort of fundamental tenets that we apply as it relates to artificial intelligence, and one of those is that AI should be embedded within the platform, which means that you don't even need to make a conscious buying decision about, okay, I'm an existing Five9 customer and I want to know if I could benefit from AI. You can actually just, in many cases, just turn it on. So we operate sort of try before you buy models, which allows our install base to evaluate whether this sort of technology is going to deliver some value for them. It's another great reason for investing in a CX platform relationship as opposed to a point solution. In terms of the efficiencies that people are getting, it really depends on the use case and on the vertical. But if I use a recently published case study, and this is not atypical at all, but Aeroflow Health, which is in the healthcare consumables marketplace with about 500 distributed agents around North America, they saw by looking at their data that there was certain types of interactions that they would much rather have handled through automation, because in many contact centers today, it's all about getting your human agents working on the highest value activities for your contact center. It's not that we're not saying you don't need human agents, you absolutely do, but you want them on the highest value work where they're going to deliver the biggest value for your enterprise and for the customers that they're serving. So by identifying what activities you can take away and have those automated, whether it be through IVA, which is what Aeroflow Health used, they were able to reduce around 15% of the overall load on the contact center agent. And they did that by automating essentially routine questions around insurance availability, as well as the tracking of consumables in terms of where they were in the supply chain and things like that. Not only that, and we see this a lot with customers, is once they had proven to themselves that IVA was able to deliver some value, they then started looking throughout the rest of the Five9 CX platform and the other offerings, and since implemented Five9 post-call summarization, which is where you're listening to an overall conversation between an agent and a customer, and then you are summarizing that down to to something that's easily read and consumed, or perhaps put into a CRM. And one of the things they noticed was that the nature of the summaries that the human agents were writing were taking some time, of course, but they were not also consistent. And so by using Gen AI Studio, you can automate the generation of those summaries and tailor those summaries so that they can get from it exactly the type of information that they want, whether it be to improve agent training or just improve the data quality in general. So they've gone from one IVA product, if you like, one AI product to another, and we expect that trend to continue. And that is why when we showed that visual earlier on, we show it as a cycle. And the reason for that is it's very common for someone to start with a particular objective in mind, achieve that objective, and then move on to the next one and the next one and the next one.
Wow, impressive. The other aspect that business leaders are looking to leverage in this era of doing more with less is automation. What role does automation play in the new AI suite? And what's the impact on customer interactions?
Yeah, so there's really kind of three categories of use of AI within a CX platform, or three, I guess, most common categories. They are self-service themselves. So you can think of a chatbot as being a very good example of complete self-service. You can think of IVA as being another category of self-service. Then you have the range of assisted technologies. So this is where you're basically having a human agent in the loop, but that human agent is enhanced in some way through the use of AI. An example I used there with Aeroflow Health was the post-call summary. Instead of having to write up a summary, it might take them a few minutes. You're instead able to reduce that down to a few seconds by essentially using a large language model to do that summary for you. Agent assist technology is another good example of assisted category, where you are popping information in real time based on the conversation to the agent. Big reason for that is a lot of contact center environments have a lot of churn in them. And one of the reasons, one of the challenges there is, well, you've got to train people up. How do you get them trained quickly? How do you get them expert on your enterprise? Well, using Agent Assist, you can make pretty much any agent you have into your best agent, because they're all benefiting from that technology. And then the third category of or automation, although it's less obvious, is the insight category, where you're essentially using AI behind the scenes to basically make informed decisions and analyze what's happening in your contact center. So in terms of automation rates that people are looking at, if you look at the first category, it's generally measured in the containment rate, or the amount of interactions that essentially can be automated away, and that can range anywhere from a few percent, and Aeroflow Health showed 15%, for example, all the way up to some very high percentages, depending on the nature of what's happening in your contact center. So something like a very transactional centric contact center, like bill processing or parcel lookup or things like that, you can expect very high automation rates there because it is very transactional. When you're getting into long form conversations, you expect those automation rates to reduce because people are wanting to engage in some sort of discussion. And that's why human agents are still, very, very important in the contact center.
Fantastic. Well said. And Genius AI has been under development and testing with real customers for some time. Tell us about that process and the feedback that influenced its launch and development from those customers.
Yeah. So Five9, if we look at the history of it, we sort of worked on the application side of AI first. So we had IVA, we had chatbots, and so on. And what we realized was that was great for getting sort of an outcome, but how do you actually arrive at the decision of what you want to do? The insights piece, it was came second to us, and then once we had the insights piece, we actually were testing that with a lot of customers, and they were giving us really quite a lot of feedback about it. One of the things that we didn't automatically determine in our own sort of development process was we thought that people would be interested in just the topics and the amount of time that, say, certain topics took to handle in the contact center. And that's true, but there's a whole second category, which is the sentiment that related to those topics. So in many cases, a contact center, administrator is looking at not just the prevalence of a particular interaction, but how heated that interaction is, or how impactful that interaction is, either on the morale of the agent or the morale of the contacts, the customer themselves. And so when I'll show you a demo a little bit later on of AI insights on the screen, and you can see it's essentially the real estate is divided now into the operational performance, but then also the sentiment performance. And that whole notion of sentiment performance was all basically generated through feedback from customers that were actually evaluating the product. The other thing that we saw very much when we introduced things like agent assistance and post-call summarization was a strong demand from customers to be able to really tailor and tune exactly how things like summaries were produced. I'll give you an example of that. Five9 is a big user of AI insights and post-call summaries ourselves. And so one of the requirements that we have is if you make support requests to Five9, we actually write back to you. We write up an email, we tell you what we're going to do as our next action, and we send it off to you. Well, that was all done manually. Agents actually had to take time out of their day to do that. Now, an automated summary was useful, but what was really useful was if you could write that summary in the form of an email that used the agent's name, that used the customer's name, and then automatically send that email for me using workflow automation. And all of that is now possible through Gen AI Studio, which went GA last week. People can actually do all of this tuning themselves. And all of that was direct feedback from customers as well.
Impressive. Any chance you could share any anecdotes or stories from customers on some of the benefits of using AI in a real world context?
Yes. Well, the Aeroflow example that I used earlier is probably one of the easiest ones to talk through because it really talks to a company that's gone on a journey with Five9, starting with an idea that they had in their mind, like I think I can automate this. I'm not entirely sure, but how do I go about it? And then actually getting the data, showing that was possible, implementing that solution, and then going on to the next one and the next one. So there's plenty of these available today, but I would say people are still relatively early on in their AI journey. I mean, if we think about generative AI as a category, it's really only been commercially available for probably 24 months. And what we have is a lot of people still looking at how they're going to best apply that in their environment. And that's why something like AI Insights is so important, because it allows them to make those informed decisions. But I can tell you that, I've worked with customers, for example, that have implemented dozens of automation solutions, one after the other in serial fashion. And it generally revolves around proving some sort of return on investment, seeing why it worked, seeing the result on the contact center, overall, and then going again in that sort of iterative fashion that is now expressed in Five9 Genius AI. And so you may be implementing, a solution every other month, but you just keep going and going and going. And I think that's one thing I want to stress is that if you're a prospect out there, if you're looking at getting into implementing AI within your contact center environment, really be looking for a process that's going to guide you, from end to end. And really think about it as going on sort of a long-term journey, because the reality with AI is that the engines are always improving, the capabilities are always improving, and so you're looking for someone that you can partner with for that long-haul kind of relationship that's going to span many, many years.
Well said. And Five9 is known as a powerhouse in a number of verticals, financial services, healthcare, and others where, protecting customer data is paramount, highly regulated industries. How do you think about data protection when using AI in customer interactions?
Yes, so I mentioned earlier on that we have a number of tenets that all of our AI products adhere to, and one of them is responsible AI. Five9 has an AI council, which has representation from across the company, from the CTO to engineering office to professional services to legal to product management, and we meet on a regular basis to actually produce policy on exactly how we're going to implement AI. One of the things that we're very big on is transparency and giving you choice in terms of how your data is used and where it's used. And making sure that we have the appropriate sub-processing agreements in place with the various sub-processors, whether that be Google, whether that be OpenAI, whether that be Microsoft or others, and making sure it's very clear to you what you're using and what happens when you elect to use a particular engine within the platform. Jonathan Rosenberg is our CTO and head of AI, and he often talks about this concept of a dial of trust. And it's about how much trust as the enterprise do you want to place in generative AI technology. I'll give you an example. If you were just to take a large language model and attach it to a chatbot, that is placing an enormous amount of trust in the large language model, because you have no control necessarily of what it's actually going to say and respond with. If you dial that trust dial down, you're going to get into things like agent assist technology, where the AI may make a recommendation, but it's making a recommendation to an agent who is perfectly capable of deciding whether or not to follow that action or modify that action or tweak that action. And if you turn it all the way down, you're getting down into the areas of just using artificial intelligence for the purpose of insight and analysis, as just a one part of the overall decision-making process. So customers can determine on a case-by-case basis how much faith they want to place in the generative AI outputs themselves, and we think that's really important. And I think a good way for the industry to proceed.
Fantastic. Well, I can't wait to have Jonathan on my show. I know he's a true thought leader in this space and always has amazing insights. So we'll tune in a couple of weeks for that. In the meantime, you and the team have been busy, extraordinarily busy, getting this to market and getting this in customers' hand. What were some of the challenges you faced, shipping this and testing it? And, how did you overcome those? It's no small feat dealing with emerging technology and complex solutions, particularly in Gen AI these days.
Yeah, well, I think what you touched on it there. One of the challenges that we have is the continuing changing landscape of the underlying core engines themselves. If you look at sort of the large language model space, it seems like every other week there's an announcement from a Google, a Microsoft, a Meta, an IBM or whatever. And one of the challenges is just making sure that we stay abreast of all of those things. And get the best technologies, the ones that are most suitable for our customers, into the platform. Going back to those AI tenets before, one of those tenets is being engine agnostic, basically having the ability to switch out underlying engines and bring them in as they need it. So in the development of something like AI Insights, I think the underlying core engine itself has probably changed like 3 times from when the platform was in its beta through to controlled and then generally available. And that's just because the technology's been changing under the hood. So that's one challenge. Another challenge is actually going back to why things like Gen AI Studio were developed, is that really getting a good sense of where the pain points were in the implementation of artificial intelligence only comes from having done hundreds and hundreds of implementations. And so taking the time to kind of build up that sort of a reference and install base, and seeing where, for example, the PS professional services team, had challenges in implementation, and being able to make sure our products address those challenges, as well as we talked about before, direct feedback from customers that were using these things like AI Insights and post-call summaries, and providing a lot of feedback. So, because the technology is relatively new, particularly the commercial side of it, there was a lot of iteration that we had to go through in those products to kind of get them right for market.
Well done. And speaking of technology, you have a long roadmap, of much of which you can't share or is under NDA, but what can you talk about in terms of future developments and broad themes we might expect to see from Five9 in the AI or CX space in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the big categories that we are looking at is AI recommendation. So today, if you are using something like AI Insights, it is obviously showing you what's actually happening. But generally, the recommendation is done in partnership with our professional service and consulting team, where we look at the data together, we look at the metrics, and we say, we think this would be a good candidate. One of the things that's been really interesting is being able to automate some of those recommendations. At the end of the day, there's thousands and thousands of Five9 customers across many, many industries. And, we have the ability to understand what type of automation rates you're likely to see for different types of use cases. And once we have that, we have then the ability to make recommendations to a customer to say, okay, we see 15% of your interactions are happen to do with, let's say, password reset. Did you know that the automation rate for a chatbot-based password reset system is 80% or something like that? That would result in the return on investment based on your current expenditure and what you're doing there of this. So that sort of automated AI recommendation is an area of a lot of R&D for us right now, and I think you could expect some announcements on that in the coming quarters.
I can't wait to see it. Speaking of seeing things, let's take a look at a quick demo while we have you here. I don't know what you can show us, but perhaps you could walk us through a couple of screens for Genius AI.
Okay, so I'm just going to just tell me if you can see my screen, but I've just logged in. And so this is Five9 admin, and this is actually an interesting admin in the sense that it's Five9 itself. This is our own technical support team using our own software. And one of the things that I've been talking about a bit is Five9 AI Insights, and this is AI Insights in action. It revolves around the concept of kind of creating a dashboard. And the purpose of the dashboard, as I mentioned before, is to generate for me automatically operational performance metrics. And then, as I said earlier, customer experience metrics. And this whole panel here at the bottom of the screen was all produced with feedback from customers. But I'll just talk you kind of through what we're looking at here on the screen. Basically, we're looking at every interaction coming into Five9 Support Center. And we are automatically using large language models, reducing every interaction down to the reason or reasons for that interaction. And so in a technical support center, you could expect all your calls to be about technical support. And in fact, 70% of them are. But there's also all these other things going on in the support center. So audio troubleshooting, account activation, disconnected calls, things like this. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that there's nothing in there that's essentially unexpected. And if you were seeing something that was unexpected, so let's have a look at something like audio troubleshooting. I can actually mine all the way down to the individual interactions on the platform. Take a little while for them to kind of load up here, but we can actually see the interactions here. I'm going to pick one like this one here, for example. And we can go in and we can load the actual transcript of what's happening.
Wow.
So you see a long conversation here. We can actually scroll to the bottom and we can actually even play back the interaction as well if we wanted to. We could actually see an AI summary of this interaction here on the right-hand side. So here's the interaction. We can see whether the agent left any feedback for this particular interaction. In this case, they did not. But then what we can do is we can look at, okay, for audio troubleshooting, what is the actual sentiment as it relates to these types of interactions? So we can see an AI-generated sentiment, an AI-generated CSAT, and even whether the issue was resolved or not. So you think of sort of the analog to kind of first call resolution would be the metric that a lot of contact centers would use. We can also, on the right-hand side, see how these trends are changing day in and day out. And if we get any particular like new trends appearing, we can automatically be notified here by if there's a new topic that is generated, send me a notification so I can log in and see what's actually changing in my contact center. The other thing that you can do is you can automatically see the biggest movers, so how things have changed day in, day out. That's this table is really used quite a lot. And the one that I like the most is critical interactions, which you hopefully see no result like you see right here. And this is just looking at like particularly bad interactions from a CSAT perspective or an AI sentiment perspective. And again, you can just drill immediately down into those. One of the things I also want to show you is just here, this impact score. This is really important because it shows you what the overall weight of effort is on your contact center from this particular topic.
Oh, wow.
So it looks at like how many interactions you get, but it also looks like how long it took for an interaction of this type to get to an agent, how long that agent took to handle that, and even the post wrap-up, post-call work required for those types of interactions. Because we're really looking to optimize every aspect of that sort of end-to-end conversation, including the waiting time, including the wrap-up time. So this just gives you a sense of kind of like what AI Insights is about. The thing I want to stress about this is all of this is automatically generated. So this is not a speech analytics project or anything like that. This is all being produced by a large language model and is also available because it can be automatically produced in a try before you buy type model. So people can just turn this on if they're a Five9 customer and just run it for a period of time. And if they're getting these benefits that we hope that they are, they can keep it on. And it's just based on the number of interactions that you want to process. So that's AI Insights.
Wow, very impressive. Congratulations again on the launch and onwards and upwards. Amazing opportunities for your customers and partners alike.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Callan. Thanks for joining, and thanks everyone for watching and listening. Look forward to chatting again soon. Take care. Take care, Callan. Bye-bye.